Good morning. It is 6:43 a.m. on Thursday, December 9th, 2021. I'm Christiana Ellis and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. I've been messing around with sound settings lately, and mostly what it all comes down to is I need to be more conscious of speaking more closely into the microphone, because that's what actually solves the problem that I've been trying to technology my way around, when the actual technology in question is that I bought a microphone that is designed for you to speak right into like this. So got some TV to talk about. In particular, I watched, let's see, what did I watch? The latest episode of Hawkeye. Definitely liking that show quite a bit. In particular, one of the things that I like most about it, I think, is the fact that it makes me finally like Hawkeye. Not that I actively disliked him per se. I mean, Jeremy Renner's said some things that I'm not a huge fan of as an actor. But that said, I didn't necessarily hate Hawkeye as a result of that. Um, I didn't hate Hawkeye at all. I just felt like he's never been a, one of, like, if you asked me to rank all of the hero characters from the Avengers movies, pretty low on the list as far as my ranking is concerned. But now I'm actually liking him. This show, I mean, it makes sense in terms of just amount of screen time and time spent on characterizing him. But I finally feel like I get and appreciate his character now in a way that I really never did with any of the movies. So liking that. I also watched a couple of episodes of Disney Plus's Welcome to Earth series, which is sort of nature documentary, world exploration type of stuff with Will Smith as the host, and that's a lot of fun, and it looks gorgeous on my TV. So, recommend that if you're into that sort of thing. Then I also watched a couple of episodes of Voir, Voir, which is a Netflix series about, it's like video essays, just talking about movies and filmmaking and that sort of thing. All good. But the big thing that I watched yesterday was all of season 2 of actually, it was all. I had watched the first couple of episodes the day before, but now I've watched all of the rest of season 2 of Centaurworld. Now, Centaurworld is a cartoon I've talked about here on these videos before, because it is just, it's very unusual in many respects. It's strange in a way that is a little different than, usually when you hear about a cartoon being weird, it's you just think of it, oh, it's like it's quirky, but it's like this is a little different. Like it's superficially a bit more like that, but as I've talked about before, it's probably its closest parallel is Adventure Time, where you have a lot of really silly stuff happening, but it's kind of, you realize eventually that that's just surface level over a foundation of like some really more complex than you'd expect character drama and real emotional stakes. And it's a very unusual show in that regard, that it really blends those things in a way that most Western animation doesn't. Although I think it's becoming a bit more common than it used to be. Um, but in any case, watching season 2, the first couple of episodes actually felt a little bit scattershot to me compared to season 1. Season 1 has a lot of weird stuff happen, but on a scene by scene level, you can always answer the question of what is it that's happening in this scene? What are we meant to be feeling about it? Whereas season 2 feels a little bit rushed early on in that regard. It feels a little bit like things are happening too quickly. They're trying to do too many different things with each scene, or not really giving each emotional beat time to land before we move on to the next one. However, I suspect actually that it probably maybe that part of the storyline got compressed a little bit. Like it would have been more episodes, and then they made that part of it shorter. But perhaps they did that so that they would have time for the finale, because what initially on the list looks like just the last episode is actually like a movie length episode. And the crescendo that season 2 builds to is really incredible. I have some nitpicks about it, but overall it's really wonderful. And they leave it, I'm not going to spoil, but what I will say is it's not a cliffhanger ending. If this was like, I would love there to be a season 3. If they make a season 3, I will watch it. And there are places that it could go, but at the same time, it really does feel like a complete story. It's, like if there was never a season 3, it would still feel like, yeah, we got a real complete story. We have resolved the critical threads emotionally, and we're like, I'm so appreciative of that, just because I think we over rely on cliffhangers these days, which I don't mind on an episode to episode basis, and can even work from a season to season basis. But by and large, I much prefer. How about this? What I Empire Strikes Back is such a foundational story in this regard, but I think a lot of stories you take the wrong lesson for it, which is to just leave things unresolved. But Empire Strikes Back has a thread for us to follow, which is that Han Solo is still missing. We know, or not, missing. He's captured. We have to rescue him. He's in the carbonite. We have not completed the tension between Luke and Darth Vader, but at the same time, it still feels like we have resolved the piece of the story that was being told in this movie, right? Which is, we have come to a place of rest, and we know where we're going to go next, but we're not right in the thick of it anymore, which I find extremely frustrating. That is so often used. Like, it is so, like every trilogy that exists anymore seems like what it has to do is have the first movie be more or less a standalone, because they don't know if they're going to get to make 3 yet. And then part 2 and part 3 are really just part 1 and part 2 of one big story. And it's, 2 does not stand on its own at all. That's very irritating to me. Anyway, Centaurworld is good, and I liked it a lot. And like I said, I was a little surprised by how sort of final it feels at the end, even though it certainly has places that it could go for an additional season if they do it. But I really liked it, and I recommend people check it out. I know if you watch just the trailer, it looks very strange, and it is very strange, but it's strange in a way that I found very rewarding. So recommend you check it out. In the meantime, I'll talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.